So hello guys, how are you all? I hope you all are fine. It's Pablo here. So as you've seen in the thumbnail, we are back with new and branded movie only for you guys, so basically the movie is about what if Naruto had Koneko as a slave? Watch this video till the end, also like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now let's move on to the video. Guo Academy can be described with an array of different words, that much is true, but the one word that encompasses what this academy was not was the simple word normal. Yes, Kuo Academy was far from what regular people would call a normal school. Being an elite all-girls private school, whose recent change in administrations allowed boys to attend this all-prestigious school, Kuo Academy became what many would call a paradise for men. How could it not be called a paradise? Majority of the female populace attending this most magnificent academy are beautiful without all doubt. The students' beauty ranges from above average, which by itself were not really that bad, to a level of awe-inspiring, dazzling, blinding beauty of goddess-like proportions, unworthy for human eyes. Guo Academy was truly a paradise for all men, pervert and unpervert alike. Well, at least a paradise for all but one of the few male students studying in this academy. A certain blue-eyed, whiskered, blonde-haired teen of average height yet muscular build, clad in Kuo's academy black blazer over an orange shirt, which was matched by black pants and dark blue sneakers, who considered this school as hell. However, there was good reason for his madness. Actually, there was two. The first was the actual existence of the devils who reside within the school disguised as students. And the second? Well, it's too early for this shit, screamed the teen who was running, or rather in his own words, tactically retreating as fast as he could from a vast approaching army of pubescent girls who dreamed of catching him, knocking him out, dragging him into a dark room. And then raping him to no ends, or at least that's what he thinks they would do when they catch up to him. Yes, this was how he lived his daily life, all thanks to the stupid tenant of his who knew was enjoying every waking moment of this torture. Stupid fox. He swore that massive hate increased the strength of his pheromones just for shit and giggles. Although unknown to him, it was actually his ever-cheerful smile along with his kind, helpful, and upbeat nature that melts the hearts of dozens of women in his wake, much to the hate of the male populace of this school. Now for some this would be a rather good gift to have, but to him who was never one to have a good relationship with human women in the past, having only a few who he remotely interacted with, one of which often beat him into a state of coma, while the other was a stuttering mess every time they talked to each other, the gift was, in the words of his old friend Shikamaru, troublesome. Especially troublesome since it attracts no less than majority of the feminine population and rather happy men of Kuo Academy. Yes, even the men wanted him, and that scared him to no ends. He wasn't afraid of the girls' parse, but he was rather conscious around them, often opting to minimize his reactions towards them for his and their sake, as he would not want to hurt them unintentionally. Which sadly had the opposite effect, as more pubescent girls flocked around him, some even made a fan club running dedicated to worshipping and stalking him on a daily basis. He still shudders at the thought of being likened to his old friend and rival, who had to deal with this crap. If this was part of the reason he flipped his shit and gone cuckoo in the head, then he couldn't really blame the Uchiha. Damn fangirls, especially the yaoi fangirls who brought it upon themselves to pair him up with his friend and fellow blonde, Kiba, who ironically wasn't anything like the Kiba of his own world. Most of the girls even went as far as giving him and his friend Kiba titles like Kuo Academy's two great gentlemen, in contrast to the two great ladies, composed of their senpai Rias Gemori and Akeno Himejima, or much to his horror, giving them Seam and Yuke titles. Kiba's love of swords and rather friendly personality didn't help at all. However, being generally optimistic, the blonde did view this constant event of running for his life in a positive light. Well, for one, it helped him work out his cardio, and another, he also attracted a horde of men who always go after him for stealing the attention of their crushes, girlfriends, and even wives, which served as good workout for him and his taijutsu. Poor bastards really thought they actually had a chance of landing a hit on him, the great super devil shinobi extraordinaire Naruto Uzumaki. Ah yeah, he was a devil, though not a pure-blooded one like a certain crimson-haired beauty tea, but rather one of the low-class newly reincarnated devils, created through the evil P system, implemented by the newer generation of devils, to replenish the large amount of devils lost during the previous wars against the angels and the gods of heaven, those fallen from the grace of God, and finally the devils of the underworld, but that is a story for another time. Back to Naruto, the former #1 unpredictable ninja of Konohagakure turned devil, who was still in the midst of running away from a stampeding crowd of girls. Channeling as much of his power as he could muster within the soles of his feet, the teen came to a sharp turn around the corner of a school building. With only seconds to act, the devil shinobi jumped and hid in his newfound solace and salvation, behind one of the several small bushes that lines the garden part of the school's courtyard. Just in the nick of time, as several groups of girls came running past the bushes where he was lucky enough to hide. Breathing rather heavily, the teen wiped a sweat dripping from his brow. God damn it. He started ignoring the shock of pain coursing through his body, an obvious consequence and punishment for devils who dare to utter the name of God. Stupid fangirls are way worse than the Anbu. Even I can't outrun those guys. Seriously, screw this, I'd rather fight insane Gara all over again than have to run through another horde of these fangirls. He carefully took a peek from behind the bush and saw that there were no signs of any fangirls. Stealthily the blonde exited his hiding spot. Thank God, he whispered as he once more suffered intense pain all over his body as result to muttering the name of God. Not that he minded it at all, because instead of cringing in pain or yelping in anger, the teen just smiled excitedly. Why? Because today was the day for his solo promotion exam. The day where there is a good chance of him advancing through the ranks of a low-class devil to that of a middle-class devil. Personally, he was all jittery and excited since it was like the Chunin exam all over again. Okay, now I just need to get to the clubroom. Pess here. Shouted a feminine voice coming from one of my many fans, which was then followed by several kaiing. Shit. The blonde cursed as he made a mad dash towards one of the nearby school buildings as the sun continuously shined down upon him. Normally he would be glad to bask in the sun's glory, but stupid devil handicaps caused the light to weaken him to a certain extent. Truth be told, he could easily outrun this group of rabid fangirls if not for the small training weight strapped all over his body, and by small training weights, he meant several magical weights that weighed no less than several tons on each of his limb and chest because he really just had to. This off Sato-chan with one of his inconsiderate babbling when they were working on his body weights. Damn, girl was more sadistic than that Anko woman she met back in the Chunin exams. Oh, and add to the fact that his beautiful king has banned him from using his chakra on school grounds because of his hobby of randomly pranking people. Especially those three pervs who reminded him of the Iro Senin. Not that he hated that three, because like them he too admires the female body, not just to the unhealthy extent that those three show. He could still remember when he stole a bunch of women's underwear and pinned the blame of those three perverts who were caught red-handed with a stash of those lacy garments. Haha, good times. Now that he thought about it, this trouble with women of all ages may be a form of retribution or karma from his earlier pranks in both this world and the past. Nah, impossible. It's not like some kind of god insert severe shock of pain that almost made him miss a step and fall prey unto his fans would purposely mess with his life for shit and giggles. The blonde chuckled nervously as he ran inside the school building, plowing his way through several other students who had varying reaction to his presence. The girls were squealing as usual, the guys were glaring at him with intense hatred, only a select few people, mainly devils hidden in the crowd, gave him a happy nod of acknowledgement, accompanied by a kind smile. He ran through the hallways with all his might, evading his rabid fans, while giving a wink towards a relatively petite and silent girl with white hair and hazel eyes, who was munching on a donut. Aheyo Nico-chan. The girl was kind enough to stop mid-bite and nod towards his direction. Aheyo Naruto-senpai was the girl's quiet reply as Naruto ran past her, giving her a short rub on her hair before running towards the nearby staircase. Thanks for the training last night, I'll see you later, okay? I'll treat you to ramen if I pass. Exclaimed the ever-grinning blonde as he ran up the flight of stairs, leaving behind a small dust cloud on his wake. I'd like that. The girl replied before returning her attention to her snack. What did he mean training last night? Did that bastard just wink on Koneko-chan? What did he mean see you later? A date? Did he ask her for a date? He called her Nico-chan. Kill that bastard. After him. God damn it. Shouted Naruto, who again was shocked for saying the name of God as he looked behind him too and saw that aside from his fangirls, several men, specifically the undying members of the KKK or Kido Kido Koneko, a fan club dedicated to the school's #1 mascot Koneko Taoju, who viewed them as the #1 treat to their beloved's chastity. This momentary distraction caused a rather unusual blunder as the blonde ninja mistakenly bumped on and fell on top another person who was trying to walk down the stairs. Quickly getting out of his momentary daze, the blonde came upon the realization of who he just bumped and what particular soft part of her anatomy he found his left hand pressed up against. Squeeze. His face immediately went pale and lost all of its color. He was on top of no other than one of the two great ladies of Kuo Academy. The one and only buxom long black-haired beauty and closet sadist Akeno Himejima. Well shit. Ara, how bold of you. To try and attack a pure and innocent maiden in broad daylight, Hiro Kitsune. She said with her usual elegant and gentle tone, but her deep violet eyes said differently as they showed a hint of amusement behind them. What could she be amused at? The bastard is taking advantage of Akeno-senpai. Pry off his balls. Kill him. Ah. That was the wrath of her fan club. The Akeno, who viewed him as their main enemy, were now also burning with a deep passionate hatred to maim him for publicly assaulting and groping their goddess. Yep, they'll probably join the mob going after him. In a flash of speed that would have made even his late father blink, the Jinchuriki quickly separated from his bombshell of a senpai. "You're loving this, aren't you?" he asked as he extended his hand towards her and quickly helped her up. "Yep." She admitted, letting out a small giggle as she observed the mob closing the distance between themselves and the blonde. "But are you sure you have the time to be running around here? Isn't there a more important place you should be right now?" The shinobi chuckled as he scratched the back of his head in a rather goofy manner. "I know, but you know how I'm a magnet for trouble even when I'm trying my best to avoid it," he said while helping his king's queen up. "I'll see you later, okay?" "Yes, I'll see you later, Iro Kitsune." "Yeah, see you later, Sato-chan," quipped the blonde in an offhanded way as he ducked down to avoid a dictionary thrown at him by one of the men in the huge mob. "Your aim sucks. Aim better next time, Databeo," he shouted before shooting past a rather amused-looking Akeno, running up a flight of stairs with renewed vigor. "Hi, Naruto-sama is Suo Kulan Awesome. Kill him," shouted the male populace as they started pelting the now laughing blonde who kept running away from the mob. They really had no chance catching up to him, he was already used to being chased by mobs who were definitely a few notches superior to this bunch. Before he could reach the last flight of stairs leading to the rooftop, the blonde's ears picked up a familiar-sounding voice of his only male friend within the academy. Aheo Naruto-san. Tilting his head to the direction of the voice, he saw his fellow blonde and second-year student Kiba Udo. Aheo Kiba. Naruto returned the greeting with a quick wave. "Sorry man, but as much as I want to talk to you, am I busy?" "Yeah, let's go with that, busy." Running away from a mob of both girls and guys again. "You know me." A light bulb appeared on top of his head. "Ah no Kiba, can you help me by getting the attention of the girls?" "Nope, that won't be nice for them, Naruto-san," kindly replied Udo with his bishy sparkle and all. "Oh come on man, take off your shirt or something. Make them join your fan club and not mine please, I'll even treat you to Raymond Adebayo." Kiba tilted his head to the side in a confused way. "Ara, I have a fan club." "Yes, you damned Casanova," Naruto jokingly shouted as he went by Kiba, turning towards the last flight of stairs leading to the rooftop. Kiba chuckled as he waved at the running blonde. "Haha, I guess I'll see you later. I wish you luck on your exam, Naruto-san." "Thanks man," was Naruto's simple reply as he gave a small wave back at Kiba before stopping and forcefully kicking open the normally locked door leading to the school's rooftop. "Hiya Naruto-sama." "Hiya, did he just talk to Kiba-sama?" "Hiya Narukiba Kaya." "I'm fucking not gay," shouted the whiskered devil who ran towards the rooftop, stopping only in front of the steel railings placed around the roof for the sake of protecting students from falling over and most likely suffering a terrible death. "We've got him cornered," shouted several voices from the crowd which were only a few feet away from catching their prey. The very same prey who smirked as he suddenly climbed on top of the steel railings, balancing himself as he turned towards the crowd. "This is the day you people will always remember as the day you almost caught Naruto Uzumaki." He boasted out, much to the disbelief of the crowd who believed him to be helpless and cornered. "He won't." A certain brown-haired pervert amidst a great crowd muttered out as he realized what the blonde team was planning. "Hess not really going to jump, right?" He jumped. There was a moment of absolute silence as all present in the rooftop desperately processed what just happened. One of the school's heartthrobs just jumped off the rooftop, possibly killing himself. Ooh, oh. Hell yeah. Databeo. Or not. Rushing to the school railings, the mob looked down and saw the relatively unharmed and laughing form of Naruto Uzumaki, who was standing in the middle of the school's clearing. It was like he didn't even jump from 5 stories high above the schools. Smiling, the blonde devil turned towards the school rooftop, where the groups who were running after him stood dumbfounded with their jaws dropped over the audacity of his actions. "That was a good run, but try better next time, okay?" he shouted while waving his hand at them before spinning around and running towards his original destination. To anyone else, that entire ordeal could have been described as pure and utter insanity and chaos, but to him, to Naruto Uzumaki, it was nothing but a daily event he had to live with. Truth be told, he'd rather have days like this one and not the ones he experienced as a kid back in his old home of Konoha. He chuckled. Gone were the days of him shouting about promising himself to become the village's Hokage so that he could gain the acknowledgement of his village. Those days were replaced with happy times of hanging around with his new peers who have already acknowledged him for his worth and care little about the demon that he carries. Why should they be alarmed? They were devils after all. It was ironic that the people who he can actually call friends, and not of the type that would cruelly mock him, physically hurt him, or suddenly betray him, were, and again his life really has gone through a drastic change because of her. Yes, all because of her. The soft smile made its way to his face as he ran towards the old schoolhouse, slowly reminiscing of his first day in this world, along with the events that led to his faithful meeting with his king. The pledge to my king. Flashback. Panic-stricken blue eyes flashed open as Naruto regained consciousness and began to perceive the world around him. The fresh of breath air went into his systems, giving him just enough to wheeze and cough out loudly. He took a deep breath, greedily welcoming the object his body so desperately needed. Ugh, what in God's name hit me? The blonde slowly rose from where he laid, only to fall as quickly as he rose. He clutched his head as wave of intense vertigo coursed through his mind, threatening to split and smash its content into pieces. It was the most intense feeling of pain that he has ever felt in his whole life. He screamed in pain before passing out. He eventually regained consciousness once more. This time he did not feel the great pain which previously assailed him, enabling the blonde shinobi to get up from the bed. He did not know where he was, but he was inside a bedroom to be exact, and the most lavish-looking room he has seen in his entire life, despite it looking considerably a tad bit too girlish for his taste. And what the heck were all those posters around the room with the words "anime" and "magical girls" written on them? He shook his head. Where the heck am I? He mumbled to himself as he looked around and observed the great purple sky, which showed no hint of being either night or day from outside the rather large window on the opposite side of his bed. As far as he was concerned, the sky was never that dark. The blonde-haired 12-year-old boy placed his hands upon his temples and started rubbing them. Okay, think Naruto, think, what the hell happened? He closed his eyes. All he could remember was that he was on a mission to retrieve Sasuke he had to fight. The fight itself was a blur to his mind, but he could remember that he and his friend exchanged their strongest attack, meeting head-on, before he was enveloped in a large cocoon of pure black miasma that brought him to a place of nothingness. An endless void where in every direction was a mix of iridescent colors. Yeah, it was like he was looked through an infinite kaleidoscope. Oh good, you're awake. Turning his head towards the direction of the voice, the young Uzumakas felt his jaw slacken. With his cerulean blue eyes wide as plates, he gazed upon the prettiest girl he has seen in his entire life. She looked to be around his age, maybe a year older, with clad in a crimson-colored dress that showed off a bit of her developing curves and assets. Yes, a beautiful crimson-colored dress matched only by the object that entranced him to no ends. Her long hair. It was a shade of beautiful crimson, much like blood, freely flowing down, stopping around her waist. Loose beautiful crimson strands covered her forehead, and a few strands framed her rather angelic face. Sakura had nothing on this girl. Her blue-green eyes met his cerulean orbs as the two remained silent for a moment. An ephemeral silence that was soon broken by the crimson-haired beauty. Are you okay? Well, for the first time in his life he was speechless. The string of words that formed inside his mind's cold to even come out in a string of coherent words. She was that beautiful to his eyes. Realizing that speaking was rather futile, the blonde did what he thought was best to answer her question by simply nodding his head. That's good. She nodded proudly, her hands folded underneath her developing assets, pushing them upwards and making them stand out even more before puffing her chest out. If she was paying close attention to the blonde, then she would have definitely picked up on the massive blush on his face that almost matched the color of her hair. You know, it was really shocking when you just suddenly appeared out of nowhere. My friend here says you literally fell from the sky. Friend? Naruto thought as he finally managed to snap out of his self-induced trance. It was only then that he noticed another presence inside the room. Hiding shyly behind the crimsonette was a very petite white-haired girl who was most likely a few years younger than him. She was wearing a light blue dress that matched her hair, which had two long bangs going past her shoulders and several loose bangs hanging over her forehead. Oh, and she had two cat ears. He actually blinked a few times to make sure that he wasn't just seeing things, but after a few more blinks, he indeed spotted two cat ears on the petite girl's head. Pointing at the girl behind the crimson-haired beauty, the blonde without any tact asked, "Are those cat ears?" The white-haired girl hid farther behind the crimsonette. "Yeah, you see, Koneko-chan here is a yaokai." "Huh?" Naruto mumbled out as he nodded dumbly. "And by yaokai you mean?" "Supernatural monsters often associated with Asian culture." Naruto had an unintelligible expression plastered on his face as his mind worked overdrive. Admittedly, he was far from being the brightest among the shinobi of Konoha, but he was smart enough to come up with a few conclusions on his own. 1. Based on those twitching cat-like ears that by no means were fake, the petite girl behind the beautiful crimsonette was really a yakai, a demon much like the one stuck right in his belly. 2. If she was yakai, then there was a good chance that the crimson-haired girl was also a yakai or demon of some kind. 3. He was nowhere in hell near Konoha. 4. He was really starving and could use some ramen. 5. They were demons. He was stuck in a room with two demons. Having no idea how to react in this situation, the blonde resulted into just laughing it off, hoping that he was wrong. But then again, curiosity killed the cat, or if he screw up the fox. Haha, then if she's a yaokai, what would that make you? A devil or something? Oh, how perceptive. The shinobi froze. How did you know I was a devil? She asked as two bat-like wings shot out of her back. Naruto chuckled dryly, several drops of sweat already forming in his forehead. Lucky guess. Okay, but that's really strange. Why would you ask about yokai? I thought you'd be familiar with yokai since you felt like one when I first met you. Even though that's the reason Koneko-chan brought you to me," said the beautiful devil as she gestured towards her still hiding companion. "Sorry, but I'm not a yokai. I'm 100% human. And 100% Batista Bayo." He lied. He knew for a fact that he wasn't fully human because of his tenant. The crimson-haired beauty blinked to Bayo. "That's strange, it's not often that I hear word whose meaning I can't decipher with my language ability." She looked at the blonde with pure curiosity. "What does that mean?" "Ah, it's nothing, just a verbal tic." Okay, the beautiful girl nodded, seemingly content with his short explanation. "Now I need you to listen to me. You told me you are human, right? And proud of it? Then I know this might be shocking for you, but I want you to calm down and listen to me." She gave the blonde a kind and honest smile as she muttered her next words, "You are no longer human." Naruto blinked again, not once, not twice, but several times as his brain desperately tried to process the words that came out of the girl's pretty lips. Not knowing how to react properly to this situation, the blonde found that the only reasonable response to her words was a simple, "What was that?" "Maybe you didn't hear me the first time. I said you are no longer human. I reincarnated you shortly after you died." The blonde's eyes widened as he shot out of his bed. "No, I heard you clearly the first time, but what the hell do you mean I'm not a human anymore? Hell, what do you mean when you said I died? You died and I turned you into a devil." "Haha, that's really funny. You mean to tell me that I'm a devil? What's next? Are you going to tell me we're in hell?" "Actually yes, we're in hell, specifically the Gremory estate." Naruto looked straight at the beautiful Crimsonette, doing his best to try to look underneath the underneath and see if there was any possible lies in her words. "Am I a devil?" "Yes." He could find no lies in her words. "If you want proof you can look behind you." Naruto simply did as he was told. Looking behind him, he found a pair of jet black bat-like wings sticking out his back. Black wings just like hers. She admitted she was a devil. Now he too was a devil. He would always remember that moment where he felt his entire world stop, allowing him a few seconds of inner peace before he experienced a sudden backlash of emotions brought about by old repressed memories assaulted him to no ends. He was still young, crying as he was surrounded by a crowd of adults. "You killed my children." One shouted as a rock was thrown at his face. "Demon brat," yelled another as he kicked the young boy. "You monster," added one more as a kunai was stabbed in his arm. "Die. Die. 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 They shouted over and over as they inflicted unimaginable pain upon his young body. They all wished for his death because they thought he was a monster. And now he was a devil. A monster. A demon. A fiend. An abomination. He was no longer human. And that scared him to no ends. "Hey, what's wrong? You're hyperventilating." Despite a rather worried tone, he didn't bother giving her a response. Instead, he distanced himself from the two girls and then crashed and jumped out the nearest window. Line break. He didn't know how long he ran, nor did have any idea which direction he went or the amount of distance he traveled. All he knew was that he just kept running. Yes, it was a rather cowardly act, but for Naruto Uzumaki, who was in what many would consider a mid or rather early life crisis, it was a normal and acceptable course of action. He was running for many reasons. He was running because he was lamenting his new fate as devil. He was running because he was confused. He was running because he was afraid. But most of all, he was running because he felt an intense amount of regret over what has happened. Naruto felt the very earth beneath his feet tear up, creating small trenches as he forced himself to come to an abrupt stop. Opening his eyes, he found himself in an abandoned clearing in the middle of what looked like a forest made of crimson red trees. What the hell? He cursed out a one-tailed crimson-red shroud forming around him as he lashed out on the very first object he could find, an unlucky tree who had the pleasure of getting a first taste of his newly acquired demonic strength. The tree shattered upon meeting his fist. He died before he could become Hokage. Naruto turned to another nearby tree and kicked it in half. He broke his promise to Sakura. The shinobi twirled around and punched another tree, uprooting the tree with the sheer force of his fist. He cold rescue Sasuke. In a burst of speed he grabbed the uprooted tree and used it as a club to mow several nearby trees. He cold protect his bonds. The blonde tossed the tree away before extending his left hand outwards as a small sphere of pure compressed power formed around the palm of his very hand. In frustration the boy turned to the ground and smashed the orb, causing pure and unadulterated destruction upon his wake. The wind blew rather harshly, along with a sizable shock wave which blasted all over him. There was a sound of an explosion that could be heard miles away as a crater that formed upon the forest ground. The spherical crater that marked his agony. He failed to protect his precious people, and as if a cruel punishment for his failure he was turned into a devil, a monster. The cloak of malicious power receded from his body. God damn it. Naruto yelled out to the heavens. Erg. He shouted in pain as he failed to brace himself from the sudden influx of sharp and searing pain coursing through his whole body. The pain so intense that it forced that usually ever vigilant shinobi down on his knees. What the hell? He coughed out as the backlash of the unknown torture kept flooding his body. Devils are not allowed to invoke the biblical Lord's name. Came a voice from the high above Naruto. Cringing in pain he looked up and found the very same crimson-haired girl who both saved and damned him flying high above him with her bat-ish-like wings. The moment his holy name escape from your very lips, you will be punished by his grace. Although it usually comes in the form of headaches and pain. This is the first time I've seen such a severe backlash. She dropped to the ground, wings retracting as she knelt beside him, placing her hand over the small of his back. He was coughing, heaving out loudly as his tanned skin was still pale from the intense experience. Are you okay? Asked the rather worried-looking devil. Okay? Naruto forced himself up despite his body's protests. Okay? He pushed her hand away before looking at her with a hate-filled glare. I died and became a frigging devil. He shouted, causing the devil to take a few steps back. Of course I'm okay. Yeah, I'm fine with not being human anymore. I'm fine being stuck here in hell. I'm fine that I'm a demon. A monster. He spat out before placing a hand on top of his chest as his breathing became erratic. He bit down on his lips, drawing blood so that he may force the tears to not flow out of his eyes, not wanting the devil to have the satisfaction of seeing him crying. I didn't ask to be turned into a devil. I'm human. I wanted to be human. To live as a human. To die as a human. I never wanted to become a demon. There was a look of extreme shock and confusion on the female devil's face. She was not expecting such a reaction from the blonde, since from what she heard most people would have been happy and honored to become reincarnated as a devil. Much less to become a devil in servitude to one of the noble families belonging to the 72 Pillars. Clearly there was something special about this boy. The girl took in a deep breath as she replied to still seething shinobi. Actually you did, when Koneko-chan brought your body to me you told me mere seconds before you died that you wanted to live no matter what. Then one thing led to another, and before I even knew it the special evil piece my Ani-san gave to me began reacting towards you. You told me you really wanted to live and that's why I used that piece and turned you to a devil. She exhaled. Can you please come here? She extended her hand towards him, a look of worry in her face. Let's go back to the castle, okay? We can talk there since it's not safe here. No. You should have just let me die. But she tried to reply, but the unstable boy quickly cut her off. Leave me alone. Roared the blonde before he quickly ran full speed away from the girl. Wait. Two bat-like wings sprouted out of her back as she quickly flew after the newly reincarnated devil. Line break. He was running, accelerating, turning, zigzagging, and jumping through each and every obstacle within the forest of crimson-red trees. Unlike before, this time he put his all into his strides, hoping to avoid or escape his pursuer, a certain crimson-haired princess responsible of turning him into a devil. Deep down inside he knew that he was wrong. He was never the one to run away from his problems or to lash out on others. He knew he was better than that, and if her word were true that he actually begged her to live, then he had no right to condemn her for her actions. Despite wanting to think of the matter at hand, Naruto was forced to abandon his thought as he came to an abrupt stop. He wasn't tired or anything like that, but rather there was an abnormal presence in the air that drew his attention. He looked around, blue eyes observing every nook and cranny of the forest, determined to find the source of the feeling that caused the pressure in the air to thicken in a sickening extent. It was feeling that already had the pleasure of experiencing in the past, but unlike those times this feeling chilled his spine to no ends due to its increased potency. Filling intent. One that was much, much worse than what he felt around Zabuza and Orochimaru. There was a barely audible sound of something sneaking around him hidden by the vast foliage of crimson-red trees. Then there was a roar, a mad and almost deafening roar that had the Shinobi's body moving in overdrive. Swoosh. He crouched before rolling forward, a forceful shifting in the air blowing his back and pushing him away alerted him of the creature's presence behind him. As he rolled forward, the boy took a quick peek behind him to see whatever creature it was that dared to attack him. It was a tiger, or at least part of it, specifically the legs were that of a tiger, since its head was that of a monkey, its body a tanukus, and had a snake for a tail. Talk about the offspring of an unholy orgy between those animals. "Damn, you're ugly," whispered the blonde, only to soon regret those words as the creature, as if understanding him, lunged at him. Not being one to back down to any challenges that presented themselves to him, the shinobi of Konoha reached for his kunai pouch so that he may at least have a weapon that he could use to defend himself. However, much to his horror, it was only then that he noticed that he was not wearing his normal shinobi clothes, but rather he was wearing what looked like a pair of white pajamas, which were slightly smudged and dirtied by both his run through the forest and his roll towards the ground. Ah shit. Shifting his center of gravity, the whiskered shinobi barely had the time to avoid a deadly swipe from the creature's claws. He then found himself running, rolling, and jumping away in order to dodge several more deadly attacks from the ferocious beast. I seriously need to practice Kawarimi substitution if I survive this. The blonde channeled chakra to the soles of his feet before jumping towards the nearest tree in order to get away from the beast. Imagine to his surprise that the entire bark of the tree exploded into hundreds of tiny splinters upon contact, sending him shooting towards the beast. However, in a stroke of luck, Naruto was sent flying towards the creature while it was in mid-leap, allowing him to twist his body the last moment so that his left elbow faced the creature's chest. Boom. The creature was sent staggering back as a result of all the built-up momentum of Naruto's elbow smashing violently upon its chest. Clearly shaken up, Naruto decided to take advantage of the beast's obvious opening by quickly extending his hand toward the ground. The forest floor cracked as the blonde was able to push himself up and over the beast, landing a several dozen feet behind it. What the hell? He was just expecting to propel himself with one hand so he could kick the monkey tiger thingy on its face, not push himself so far away behind it. That was way too strong. His eyes widened as he looked at the very hand he used to propel himself. He repeatedly closed and opened the palm of his hand. He definitely felt that he was stronger. Slightly bending his knees, the boy kicked off the ground, creating a sonic boom, accompanied by a foot-sized crater upon the earth as he charged towards the beast. 3 seconds away, he cocked his fist back. 2 seconds away, the beast turned towards him. A second away, he threw his punch. Impact. His fist smashed against the beast's face, sending it flying almost a kilometer back. Naruto stared at his smoking fist, his jaw dropped as far as it could. Damn, that punch was as strong as the ones Bachan used on the Iro Sennin. The blonde quickly pumped the fist he used to smack the creature. That was so freaking awesome to Bayo. Since when the heck was I as strong as Bachan? Wait, was this a side effect of him becoming a devil? Monster strength on par with a Sannin. Roar. The creature cried out, grabbing his attention. From afar he could see the rough outline of the beast as it started running towards him. Steam and drool slowly seeped through its fanged mouth while it continued to glare at him rather hatefully. Not that he was intimidated with his newfound strength, he was confident that he could actually beat this freak of nature. Bring it on to Bayo. He yelled, keeping his eyes on the beast, which suddenly stopped its charge about halfway towards the shinobi. The beast then opened its mouth and fired a jet black beam of pure darkness right at the blonde. Thankfully, the creature had bad aim as the beam of darkness missed the shinobi by a rather large margin. Boom. Naruto turned around and saw that a good portion of the forest behind him was now replaced by a gigantic desolate trench, courtesy of the creature's beam. Confidence shattered. Ugh, that was rather bad. I guess that's what I get from trying to fire off a menacing beam when I have a hangover. A deep baritone voice came from the beast. Naruto's head mechanically turned towards the creature. You can talk. The creature rolled its eyes. Of course. Were you thinking that a new such as I was not able to communicate with others? How stupid of you, the standards for devils really have fallen so low. A tick mark appeared on his head. Oi, who are you calling stupid? Why, of course you, or are you even stupid enough to figure that on your own? The creature purred while its tail hissed ever so menacingly. Now would you please stop making this harder for yourself and let me kill you? I really am famished. You make it sound that you're planning on eating me, team. That's the plan. The new came charging towards the shinobi, a small blacking sphere forming around its open mouth. Like hell I'm going to hit by that. The shinobi from Konoha ran towards the beast's side, purposely avoiding the path of its mouth so that he will not get hit by that beam. Boom. The concentrated beam shot out of the creature's mouth, however, unlike the last beam, this one did not immediately disappear after it was fired, but rather the beam followed the shinobi. Try to avoid that, you lowly devil. Let's try this, whispered Naruto as he crossed the middle and index fingers of both his hands, creating a cross-like hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow clone technique, he yelled out as no less than 15 exact copies of the blonde shinobi appeared beside in a puff of smoke, despite him only wishing for 2 of them to appear. My control is even worse. He complained as 2 clones grabbed him by his arms and tossed him towards a nearby tree, far away from the beam's path. The remaining clones, however, were unlucky as they were quickly dispelled by the attack, filling the entire area in smoke. Landing on a branch of the tree, Naruto quickly used Kage Bunshin again, creating 9 clones to his side. No words were needed to be exchanged as all of them jumped from the tree and came running towards the beast inside the smoke screen. What trickery is this? Roared the great Nu as it saw several copies of the blonde running towards it. The Nu swiped its claw, dispelling 2 clones that tried to punch it. It was kicked rather forcefully. The beast whipped its tail, smashing against the clone who kicked it. It was pummeled from 2 sides by 2 separate blondes. Roaring, it spun its body around, smashing its entire frame on the 2 blondes, which poofed, revealing themselves to be clones. A knee smashed to its face. The creature bit down on the knee, causing yet another clone to dispel it, was kicked in its belly by one of the blondes, while the other jumped in the air and landed an axe kick right on its head. Enough games. The beast yelled out before it roared, feeling rather impatient and in no mood for the blonde's antics. A severe and massive roar that created a shockwave which easily dispelled the 2 clones, revealing the location of the real Naruto Uzumaki. "Get over here," shouted the Nu as its snake tail suddenly lashed out into the smoke, biting the real Naruto, who was observing the situation from the back by the shoulder. "Arg!" the Uzumaki shouted in pain as he clutched reptilian tail, who had its fangs deeply planted in the meat of his shoulder. "You cannot escape. Now perish so I may sate my hunger with your corporation." Whatever the Nu planned to say died on its mouth, as the one and only Naruto Uzumaki once again lived up to his title of Konoha's #1 unpredictable shinobi. He bit down on the beast's tail. "Arg!" the creature yelled out in pain as it quickly released its tail's hold over the blonde's shoulder. Naruto quickly jumped back, distancing himself from the beast before groaning rather painfully and placing his hand over his shoulder. "Ugh, you fucking bit my shoulder. You fucking bit my tail. Well, yeah, you bit my shoulder. You bit my tail. Well, fuck you. Whatever the hell you are supposed to be. Nu. Imma Nu, you stupid devil. Yeah, well, at least I don't look like the offspring of an interspecies orgy, you team. I will murder you. They'd like to see you." A wave of vertigo waved through the shinobi system. His vision became blurry, his body got heavy, making it increasingly difficult to remain standing. "Try." He finished as his legs finally gave in, causing him to crumble down on one knee. "What the hell did you do?" The Nu smirked that was faster than expected. The blonde's eyes widened in realization. "Poison." "Blows, but it's not poison. Those of my kin are known to bring forth illness and misfortune in our wake. That is but one of the many illnesses, or as others prefer to call it, curses, that I have in my body. A simple paralyzing ailment that affects even the strongest of devils." Naruto inwardly cursed as he tried his best yet failed to move from his position. The creature slowly stalked towards the blonde, drool already spilling out of its mouth. "It was fun while it lasted, devil." The beast raised one of its claws up and brought it down, all intent of ending the blonde's life. Only for the blow to miss its intended target as the shinobi was tackled away. It happened so fast that even Naruto found it hard to comprehend what happened. Mere seconds before he was about to die, she came diving down from the sky, tackling him away. She saved his life. "Are you okay?" He looked on the crimson-haired beauty who was lying on top of him. He would have blushed at the sudden closeness if not for him spotting the pained expression in her face that she was trying hard to hide. "I'm fine." the shinobi managed to mumble out. "Good," she said rather weakly. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, only for his eyes to widen in surprise as his nose picked up on an ever-familiar scent. The smell of iron. The very same metallic smell which was coming from 3 bleeding gashes on her sides. With the best of his remaining strength, which was inhibited by the curse, the blonde carefully slipped out under her, making sure to be as gentle as possible. "Oi. Are you okay?" he asked, panic evident in his tone. She nodded weakly as she continuously bled out. Having little to no knowledge about first aid, the blonde tried to do as his instincts told him. He ripped the sleeve of his shirt and immediately placed it upon the large gashes in hopes to stop the bleeding. "Stupid girl, why did you save me?" The girl smiled as she continued trying her best to hide the great pain that dawned upon her. "Because that's the job of a king. It's a king's role to protect the members of her peerage. But truthfully, I guess it was because of my mistake for carelessly reviving you. I saw how sad you were. How angry you were. I'm really sorry. Hey, don't apologize. It was my fault. I lashed out at you. So please just hang on. Don't die. He looked over her wound, desperately racking his mind for any possible way he could help her. Damn it, we just met. Why would you do that? Hell, I don't even know your name or anything about you. The girl chuckled weakly. Hehe, my name is Riaz Gremory, a pure-blooded devil from the house of Gremory. I like chess, my family, and the members of my peerage. I don't particularly dislike anything, she stutters, slightly cringing as the pain finally got too overbearing for her, causing her to lose consciousness. Riaz? No. Wake up, Riaz. The blonde gently shook his body while cradling her within his arms. This was the second time in his life that he cradled someone in his arms. In his mind there flashed another similar memory, a scene of another girl with a large wound upon her chest, laying within his arms as her life faded away. Wahahaha, this must be my lucky day. A pure-blooded demon from one of the 72 pillars. Today shall be a day to remember. A feast beyond what I could have even imagined. The new who Naruto has nearly forgotten roared out as it slowly walked towards Riaz. Since I'm in a good mood, let me cut you a deal, brat. I'll let you leave here if you leave her body in your place. Hell, I'll even remove the curse I placed on you. The creature tried to bargain only for its words to fall on deaf ears. Naruto didn't honor the new with a response. Instead he just stood up through sheer willpower despite of the curse's effect and got in between the creature and the downpour of the girl, while his spiky hair shadowed over his cerulean blue eyes. So you're going to get in my way. Good. I wasn't planning on letting you go anyways. Wahahaha, entertain me, you lowly devil. Give me the excitement of hunting you down before I devour you for all you're worth. The creature gloated, not noticing the sudden influx in power around the still silent blonde. Wisps of vile red rose from his body, enveloping him in a warm blood-red three-tailed fox-like cloak of pure malice and power. The whisker-like marks on his cheeks grew darker, his canines grew longer, his two jet-black wings shot out from his back, extending longer and menacingly than before, giving the blonde appearance akin to that of a devil. The true devil. It was the creature's turn to have its confidence shatter into hundreds of pieces as it felt the immense power radiating from the shinobi. The color quickly drained from its face as it felt every fiber of its being yelling at it to run away and get as far away as possible from its earlier prey. What are you? It muttered out in fear as it took a step. The devilish form of the shinobi extended his left hand to his side, palm facing the heavens. What are you? It asked again, unconsciously distancing itself towards the blonde. The vermilion sphere of pure power formed within his hand. What are you? It screamed out. Your death. In a burst of speed, the blonde disappeared from the news vision. Shui Rasengan, Vermilion Rasengan. The beast didn't even had the chance to realize what was happening until the vermilion sphere was smashed against its head, pushing its monkey-like face down towards the ground. Crash. The beast's entire body soon followed its head as its entire body violently smashed against the ground. Grind. Its head was pushed further down to the ground, the sphere of power grinding into its head, causing great damage, which forced the ground underneath to give in to the attack's power, forming a crater. Boom. Smoke covered the entire area as the sphere exploded upon the news head. Blackish blood and gore flew all over the small crater in the aftermath of the complete obliteration of its head. The new was dead, that much was obvious. With its death, the fox-like cloak surrounding the blonde soon vanished. He felt extremely tired, his muscles were sore, his vision was still woozy, all his remaining vigor was drained away after his attack. His body was screaming at him, demanding him to lay down and rest, but he knew there was no time for that. He cringed, pain and exhaustion assailing his body with each step he took as he left the crater in which the headless body of the new laid. It took all of his power to walk, approaching the only other being in the forest aside from him. The crimson-haired girl laying silently on the ground. This is going to hurt like hell. He knelt down as he got close enough to the girl. Arms extended, he scooped the unconscious girl from the ground, cradling her in his hold. Arg, he shouted as he forced his knees up, ignoring the burning pain he felt. He started walking. He didn't know how long he walked. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't know how the amount of distance he traveled. All he knew was that he kept walking. He walked for only one reason. To find someone who could save the girl in his arms. He walked until his world turned black. Line break. He woke up. Although his head was a bit wheezy, the blonde's eyes were able to make out the now familiar side of the bedroom where he first woke up since he arrived in this world. Ugh, Naruto groaned as he placed his right hand on his head. What happened? The last thing he remembered was carrying the wounded girl in his arms. Wait, girl. Riaz. He tried to pull himself out of that bed. Emphasis on try, since the entire left side of his body objected to his simple commands, forcing him to remain plastered down on the bed. Suu, he heard a rather cute and sweet voice. He looked next to him and found that the beautiful crimson-haired devil was sleeping beside him and using him as a pillow. His left arm was resting between her B-cup bosom, his left hand was in between her thighs. Oh, and she was stark naked, giving him a luxurious view of her smooth skin and glorious body from her small hops, her long white legs, her thighs, and even her nicely shaped butt. It took all his willpower not to pass out again from excessive blood lost coming out of his nose. He then realized that he too was naked as the day he was born. The blood kept pouring out. Sue. Okay, what happened? Why was he in bed naked with this girl? Wait, was he a man now? Did he have sex with this beautiful devil? Think Naruto think. He kept walking down the forest path. His vision was wavering, his body in pain, yet he kept walking until he reached the castle. Any memories past that point were really mushy and blurry. And she hugged him tighter, causing his face to turn into an even darker shade of red. Riaz. Is it morning already? Riaz started wiping her eyes in a rather adorable manner with one hand. Did I wake you up? The girl mumbled out before her eyes quickly opened widely, her head turning towards him. She released hold of his body. You're awake, I thought you'd never wake up. You make it sound like I've slept for days. I've been sleeping for 4 days. It's been that long? Yes, everyone was worried about you. Everyone? Me and Koneko-chan. Sorry for worrying you. He asked, feeling guilty that he needlessly worried someone. How did we survive? A small blush appeared on the devil's face. Well, Grafia told me that you managed to carry me back to the estate where she healed both of us. Grafia? She's Ani-sama's wife. Oh, and Ani-sama was slightly mad about what happened, so you better watch out if you meet him. Slightly mad was the understatement of the century, as the elder Grimmery blew up a large portion of the crimson-colored forest, while promising to himself to make a certain blonde Shinobi's life a living hell. Riaz. Hi. I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. I already told you that it was my fault. No, it's not your fault. You were just following my wish. It's just that I had a hard time growing up. He felt no need to lie to her. For a person he just met, he really felt so at ease around her presence. You see, you were half right when you thought I was a yokai. Then you're really a yokai like Koneko-chan? He shook his head. The thing when I was born, a 9-tailed demon fox, the Kyuubi no Yoko, attacked my village. I've heard of kitsunes from Ani-sama. I heard that they are really strong, some even on par with ultimate class devils. Yeah, from what the stories told, with but a swing of its tails, it made mountains crumble and caused tsunamis with its mere presence. Hundreds died trying to fight the beast as it continued to lay waste upon the lands. It wasn't until the leader of the village, the 4th Hokage, sacrificed his life to defeat the beast. Did he kill it? But the thing, he couldn't kill it. Then your village was destroyed. No, since he couldn't defeat it, he did the next best thing, he sealed it inside a newborn child, hoping to contain its power. You mean? Naruto nodded as he pointed in his stomach. He sealed it inside me. He chuckled. I had this huge furry demon sealed right here in my belly ever since I was born. Being the intelligent girl that she was, Riaz managed to connect that dots. The people of your village found out about your situation. She looked at him sadly. You were made into a scapegoat, a pariah. People blamed all the lost lives to you. You're right, the villagers, they hated me since I was a kid. I was always mobbed by people who hurt me, they punch me, kick me, stab me, burn me. They demanded for my death because to them I was a demon, a devil, a monster. To them, I rather than be its cage, its prison, I was treated as if I was the fox reincarnated. I guess being turned into a devil brought up really bad memories and I kind of overreacted. He looked away from her. So I'm really sorry for snapping at you, it was my fault. The feeling of warmth then suddenly surrounded the blonde. Turning to girl, he was shocked to see her arms firmly placed around his frame. She hugged him. You don't need to worry about anything anymore. Wah. I don't care if there's a huge demon stuck in your belly. It's actually kinda cool, it's like having a sacred gear of your own. You don't hate me? You're not afraid. Why would I be afraid? To be afraid and to hate you would mean to be afraid and hate myself, my family, and this entire world I grew up in. He looked at her completely confused. How can a devil like me hate another devil who I reincarnated? I told you before, you're not a human anymore. Whatever trouble and pains you experienced as a human are long gone. You are free from the chains that bind you. This is the place where you belong, this is your new home, and this is your new life. A new life. She saved his life, the life of a stranger. Not once but twice she gave him a new life. That was more than anyone has given him throughout his entire life. Such an act of selflessness and kindness from one that is called a devil. He couldn't help but feel tears forming in his eyes. He mumbled out, not knowing what to say as he was desperate to contain his tears. She smiled kindly at him before enveloping him in a hug. A simple gesture filled with so much love and emotion. A simple gesture that was stripped away from him since his birth. Yes, that was the first hug he received in his entire life. The hug that broke down the dam and forced the tears he held back to finally fall. Line break. Several hours later, after hours of crying which was followed by an absolute silence, the shinobi from Konoha finally pulled away from the hug. Thank you, Riaz-chan. Thank you for your offer, but I'm really sorry. I need to go back to my world. Why? Because I have a promise to keep with my friends. And you let this promise go? He shook his head. It's a promise of a lifetime. I don't want to break it. I don't go back on my words, that is my way. He turned towards the ever-beautiful Riaz, a small blushing appearing on his face as the light of the moon, or was it sun? And the skies off hell shined down upon the girl, making her even more breathtaking to his eyes. But if I fulfill this promise, then I won't mind coming back here and becoming a devil. She smiled, slowly getting up of the bed, unminding of her naked form as she stood in front of the bed, her back facing the window. Then how about this? You want to return to your world to fulfill your mission, but going through different dimensions is not an easy feat to achieve. You mean there is no way of me getting back to my old world? I never said that. Although it won't be easy, I will help you eventually find a way to get back to your own world if you agree to become a part of my peerage. Be one of my evil pieces, and I swear to you under my name of Riaz Gremory that I will help you find a way to get back to your world. That is my promise to you as your new king. She spoke confidently, not a shred of lie or hesitation in her words. What an honest and noble girl. I don't really get what this whole peerage and king thing means, but I guess it's fine. He mumbled before a single light bulb appeared on top of his head. Then since you made a promise with me, it won't be fair if I didn't do the same for you. He stood up from the bed and walked towards her, the moon, or was it the sun, basking the two of them in its blessing. He looked her straight in the eyes, getting lost in its beauty. Now that he thought about it, she didn't even know his name. He stopped a few paces in front of her, giving the girl one of his trademark cheerful smiles. He didn't really know why. It might have just because he got caught up in the heat of the moment, but he just suddenly decided to kneel in front of her in one leg, like what those knights did in front of his liege from a story he read in the past. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, proud shinobi of Konoha, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko, and now devil. To you Riaz Gremory, my new king, I pledge. Flashback end. The pledge to my king. It's been around 4 years since that fateful night, or was it day? 4 gruesome years filled various hijinks, complete with researching for trying to find a way back home, along with trainings from hell handed down by Spartanist teachers, thanks to a certain Mayu, which honed both his body and mind so that he may be ready for any peril awaiting him in the future. Yes, it's definitely been a long and hard 4 years for him. But it wasn't just him. As promised, for the past 4 years Riaz tried her best to help him get back to his land. The princess called hundreds of favors, wasted lots of resources, and even drove herself to the point of fainting several times, just so that they could find anything that could help him get back to his world. Sadly, most of the attempts ended up in failure, even the one attempt which resulted in the two of them dealing with a rather tech-savvy Satan, who reasoned that there was simply way too many dimensions and alternate universes in existence to exactly find and pinpoint the Shinobi's original world. The man also said that it would take years of him doing nothing but looking through the gaps in order to find Naruto's world, which was something that the Mayu wished not to do as his technological genius is needed elsewhere at the time. However, all of that was about to change this very day, because today was a day where he had a chance to take a test that may promote him to a middle-class devil. After almost a year of bugging both Riaz and her older brother Surzich's, he was finally given the opportunity to participate in this test. He finally had a chance to get promoted and become an even bigger badass than he already was. That, in being a middle-class devils, means he will have more privileges that may help him with his desperate attempt to get back to his home. Although he would lie if he told anyone that he wasn't excited about the prospect of fighting other devils in this test. Hell, it actually motivated him to do nothing but train for the last month, much to the dismay of many, since he often skipped school, club activities, and even work. Stupid Naruto forgetting to send his clones to cover for him. Shaking excitedly, the teen finally stopped running. He smiled as he stood just outside his destination. The doors leading to the occult research club room. Behind this wooden door, his future awaited. With a small smile on his face, the shinobi from Konoha placed his calloused hands upon the door, giving it a light push. The bright light of the sun entered his vision as it shined through a small gap upon the curtained window. He winced at the new stimuli, taking a few seconds to get used to it before he finally saw the only person sitting ever so silently within the club room. Yes, the one who has given her a second chance in life. The one who started him on the path to his newest journey. She looked at him, her blue-green eyes meeting his cerulean blue once more as she gave him a kind and sincere smile, reserved only for those who were close to her. The simple smile, which was accompanied by the slight waving of her crimson blood hair, already caused a slight hue of red appear on the blonde's face. Hey, oh Naruto-kun. He grinned, showing his canine-like teeth before returning the kind-hearted gesture back at the crimson-haired devil with a kind and heartwarming smile of his own. Aheo Riaz-chan. Lou, you know what you're supposed to call me but you when we're in the clubroom. Don't want to. Come on please. Asked the buxom beauty in a rather cute manner that would make most men fold. Sadly, having had prolonged exposure to both the cuteness and sexiness proximity of his longtime king, the blonde has already built up an immunity against her charms, with the exception of her nude attacks. Since those tend to work on any men who had a junk and considered themselves straight. Nope. She pouted before turning away from the rather stubborn blonde, completely missing a rather perverted smirk on his face. Fine, Ani-san has already contacted me. He said that Grafia will summon you via teleportation spell in a few minutes to take you to your promotion test. It'll be sure to follow later after taking care of a few other businesses I have planned out on. Cool. Make sure you're not late. I don't want you missing out on me kicking serious devil ass. Of course, what kind of king am I if I can't even attend my favorite piece's promotion exam? He glumped her, embracing her entire frame in his arms. Oh, that's why I love you, Riaz-chan. She refrained eeping out and smiled for a moment as the blonde continued hugging her to no ends. She just let the ever-cheerful blonde do as he pleased. It's not like she hated it. Her bluish-green eyes trailed along the body the teen built and forged in the Vey fires of hell. Despite being hidden underneath his clothes, she knew of the several scars gained through combat that marred the blonde's body. As if sensing some shift in her feeling, fox-like teen conveniently decided to break their hug there and then. She frowned, gone was her rather childish and cheerful persona, which was replaced by a rather serious one. Naruto. What is Riaz? She looked him straight in the eyes, her gaze filled with both confidence at his abilities yet also an underlying concern for his well-being. Are you sure you're ready for this test? You've only been a devil for a while, so there's no fault in delaying this test for a few more years. With his ever-confident smile plastered upon his face, the blonde devil answered confidently. Haha, I'm ready as I'll ever be. We both knowed. The only way for me to lose this thing is if some freakishly strong devil decides to challenge me into a fight, but what are the chances of that happening? Riaz sighed, refraining herself from shaking her head because of her piece's sheer optimism. That's good to hear, Naruto-kun. I know full well that you're capable enough to be a middle-class devil, but whatever you do, don't push yourself too hard. To the eyes of many like myself and Ani-san, you are already a great devil. You can count on me. After today I'll be a middle-ranking devil, so I can help both you and myself, Dadabeo. Do your best. She whispered as a large magical circle appeared beneath the blonde's feet. You know I will, believe it. Yelled the blonde as the circle began expelling a large amount of bright light, signifying the beginning of the transportation spell. I hope you return safely, my shinobi. She whispered as his figure slowly disappeared within the light of the great spell. But before he could fully disappear, the blonde was able to mutter out a sentence that which elicited a kind and sincere smile on the face of Riaz. He'll be back soon, my king. The pledge to my king and Hirokitsune. Pervert fox. Sato-chan. Sadist-chan. N. Yahoo! For those who want to know, Naruto's fan club is NNN, Nushi Nushi Naru-kun, also kudos to those who can get the reference of the fan club's lol. As to why Naruto is a chick magnet is because in DxD verse women are attracted to power, and that fuzzball inside him can be considered one huge battery. Juicing the blonde up. For more serious stuff like Naruto's skill set and abilities, well, it's basically stuck with a few wind and lightning jutsu, really few called magic by others, along with his Cage Bunshin Henge, Rasengan plus variants, Kawarimi, Kyuubi chakra, still not fully in control. He can't use Kuchiya since he died, terminating the contract. The abilities he will gain in this verse are the usage of Tauki and Senjutsu, which he will eventually learn from Koneko and her sister, and another skill which I won't mention since it contains plot-related spoilers. That said, he will not get a sacred gear or some form of dragon, since he already has the Kyuubi to act like that. He might get a familiar or a sentient weapon, not an effing Zanpakuto. But that's far as it'd go. Strength-wise, he is currently the strongest member in Ria's peerage. In terms of Narutoverse standards, he stands somewhere in the cage territory because of his new devil physiology, which basically lets him shoot at them if he ever so happens to return to that verse, since face it, in an all-out fight the XD verse will destroy Narutoverse Yubi aside, that is, no offense. Current timeline places this a week or two before Issei's run-in with the fallen angels. For people who call out on Naruto's reaction for suddenly tuning into a devil. Well, heroic BSOD. It was actually a two-pronged assault. First being that he was dead and all, and second he became what he hated and what he never wanted to be. He became how the ignorant masses perceived him. All of those caused him to snap or rather lash at Riaz. That and almost every other's over where he ends up in another place, always ends up with him quickly adapting and being okay with the circumstance. I'm guilty as charged with this as well, so I figured it'd change things up a bit. Oh, and why didn't Riaz just blast Anu to death? Because she was still younger and not in full control of her power. If she blasted the Nu, she would have killed Naruto as well. OBTW Riaz 13 when she met Naruto, so she was a tad bit childish. Pre-center storyline place Riaz and Akeno are 17 in this fic, while Kiba, Naruto, and Ice are 16, arranged from, and Koneko is 15. So this is it for movie 1, thanks for watching.